This is it, guys. This is my final attempt at trying to film this review. I don't even know what attempt I'm on anymore. I don't know how many times I have tried to do it. I've tried changing how I do it, changing up the format, trying to plan something different, and it just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. So this time, I haven't even bothered to try and make myself up to date or set up my camera properly. It's just I'm just going to sit on the floor and talk to you guys about the Chaos Walking Trilogy by Patrick Ness. And if this doesn't work, then it obviously wasn't meant to be. The Chaos Walking Trilogy by Patrick Ness. This series consists of 3 books, obviously. The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and no, it's not of Monsters and Men, Catherine, it's Monsters of Men. And this series, we start off following a young boy called Todd who lives in a place called Prentice Town, where everybody can hear everyone's thoughts, including the animals. So you can hear what your animal is thinking, whether it be a dog, bird, alligator, whatever. You can hear its thoughts and it can hear yours. And you understand the thoughts. So the thoughts aren't just coming out in like animal language, it's coming out in a language that you can understand and they can understand. And it's set in a world that isn't Earth, but is quite similar to Earth. It has some of the same animals and it has all the trees and the water and the oxygen. And one day, Todd stumbles upon an area of complete silence and his world goes to pot. I mean, his life wasn't perfect before, but once he hits that area of silence, it goes downhill rather quickly. This series, basically, I've tried so hard to talk about this series without really spoiling anything, because this series is one of those series that's better off going in not knowing anything. So I think just the main things are that, one, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think overall, I gave it, for this whole series as a whole, is probably a 4-star series. I think that's what I gave it. I'm not sure. It's just a pretty solid series. I really enjoyed it. But the things just to keep in mind are, The Knife of Never Letting Go is written completely from Todd's perspective. So we're inside Todd's head, and Todd is illiterate. He can't read or write, and so I think that's why certain words are spelled incorrectly. So like the shuns on the end of like information are spelled S-H-U-N, which is fine, but it's a bit, I don't know, if you're going to do that, if you can't read or write, then you can't spell anything. And you pronounce information anyway, so if you can overlook that way of writing, because that would definitely help you along with The Knife of Never Letting Go. Also, after reading The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Knife of Never Letting Go is sort of like a mad rush, like a mad dash, as we're with Todd, as he's thrown into this complete chaos. Into complete chaos, and I hope, we're with him as he's trying to survive and to stay alive, and the decisions he makes and the people he meets and his relationships and things like that, just following him is just boom, 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 like a mad rush to the end. And then once you get to the end, massive cliffhanger, and then you move on to The Ask and the Answer. And don't expect The Ask and the Answer to be exactly the same as The Knife of Never Letting Go. The Ask and the Answer, being a middle book, reads like a middle book. It's much slower in pace. It's just basically letting you know what happens after, obviously, as a sequel should, and also setting you up for the 3rd book, again, as a prequel should, but it's a lot slower in pace. Not much really happens. It's just sort of like setting up. Just basically spends a lot of time setting things up. And then on Monsters and Men, again, not quite so fast paced as the 1st book. So I have to say the first one is probably my favourite out of the three of them, but still I think a pretty solid ending to the trilogy. Not all the questions are answered, but most of them are enough to give you a bit of to give you a sense of satisfaction once you've finished it, a sense of knowing, well, this is what happened and such. So this whole series is less about it. Yes, it's set on a completely different planet, but it's less about that and more about the humans and the people and how they deal with certain situations, how they cope, how they how the decisions that they make and the relationships that they build and how they deal with people and how they develop as they're thrown into these situations, and how it affects them in the long run. So it's more about humanity, I think, than the actual world and where it's set. That's sort of like, it is literally just the setting, just the backdrop, and it's more about the people and the characters and how they develop. And sometimes, you know, I like books where the worlds are magnificent and fantastic and there's all this stuff to learn about them, but sometimes it's just nice to focus on the characters. I think that's one of the things I liked about this series. Also, it kind of destroyed me. Because it's focused on the characters, you grow attachments to these characters, and then Patrick Ness basically just craps on you. And I won't lie, there were a few tears. But yeah, no, overall, in my opinion, I think it's a pretty solid trilogy. I know it's so associated with like the sci-fi genre, I think because of the setting and certain things that are mentioned, but don't let it put you off if sci-fi is not your thing. And as I said, it's literally just like a backdrop, just a setting for these characters. It's not like it's not a main thing. So also, if you do really enjoy sci-fi, then don't be disappointed going into this expecting lots of sci-fi stuff, because there's not. Again, it's just a backdrop. It's just a backdrop to the story, just a setting for these characters, and that's, yeah. So that's it, guys. That is it. Apologise for my state. No, I'm not gonna apologise. This is me, guys. This is me. The series are real. The series are me. So yeah. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will hopefully see you in another video. Goodbye.